And good evening, everyone. It's been a bit. Got to get some updates here. Wait for some folks to get on in here and work with their notifications. Going to check and see if my Twitter has notified. And let's see. And it looks like we're doing much better over there. Okay, there we go. How's everyone doing out there? Looks like we got 14 on YouTube. Who else we got? And one over on Facebook. Be nice to see that'll climb up a little bit. So first and foremost, an update on my surgery. It was canceled on February 6th. And needless to say, I was not and still am not happy about that. I received a call at 9:30 or 7:30 actually, 7:30 at night on Sunday night that says you're canceled. Apparently, they had an HVAC crash and they had at least 2 days of not being able to do surgeries at the VA hospital here in Reno. So they rescheduled me, get this, for March 20th. So I started blowing up the phones saying this is not going to work. And they called me back a few hours later and said, well, we found a slot we can put you in for February 21st. So that is my new date. So in the meantime, I'm dealing with a lot of things and more coming. And we will improvise, adapt, and overcome here. So February 21st, I already went through my pre-op again. I already went through my other blood draw again, and just got to work through it. But with my shoulder, there's a couple of abscesses that are in there. They're calling them inflammation cysts that have hardened, and so now the pain is even more excruciating because they kind of roll around and they get caught, and it's right under a nerve, and it's just poof, pow. So in any case, we'll get that handled on the 21st, and we'll be back at it again. So that's the update on the surgery. Update on state capitol rallies. The state capitol rallies, I will be at the Carson City Capitol rally here in Nevada, and I will be live streaming that event on the 18th and doing some networking, trying to hook up with some more individuals, because as we know, things are going to hell in a handbasket very fast, as we could see from the residents' failure of the union address. And so things are not looking good. Shot down another balloon today, but to hear the resident speak, there was no significant issues with that balloon that went across the United States and took pictures of all of our silo sites. Seemed to have a steerability and that kind of stuff. So anyway, we are in deep doo-doo, and we're still trying to figure out what it is we're going to be able to do. So what I can tell you is that since day one, I said this on my last stream, and hopefully the audio is much better. We did find an issue. I had been installing some audio things in the computer to try and work with the studio, and one of them installed a volume knob hidden way down deep in the Mac for my microphone. So even though I had the application turned up all the way, I couldn't get it to come down. I mean, to come up. It was just like, what the heck? It's way down. So I'm being told here that the failure of the Union address was the lowest watched address in over 30 years. Tells you something, doesn't it? So also, I am going to put up, while I'm thinking about it, a link to the Grey Wolf Discord. This link will only be good for one day. And I'll put that up here for you folks, so that you can go into the Wolf Den and see if we can spend some more time over there with you folks. I don't have to be over there for you guys to be able to intermingle and to network. I did want to talk to you about a website that I started a while back, and about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago now, somewhere in that vicinity. And what this website is, I'm also going to put it up so that folks that are not in the chats can see it. Let's see if I can add one here. There we go. It's over the top of my other ticker, but we'll leave it there for a little bit. That's what I just posted for the Patriot roster. I'm going to go ahead and also put the Discord up there so you can see that for a bit for those of you that are not on a live chat system. But I will show you that what we have with that patriotroster.com is this website. About 2.5 to 3 years ago, I thought it was important to try and accumulate the Patriots. To do anything in this country, we need to be able to organize. If we can't organize, we can't get anything done. And so I had created patriotroster.com as a site for people to be able to come together and to organize. And that's what this site is. So it does have a blog. It does have active forums. So individuals, there are 6 forums in there. So individuals can actually come in, leave a comment in the forum, and actually start some Discord. And then under the constitutional documents page, is a complete list of the constitutional documents that are indexed. So when someone says, well, what is this Article 1, Section 4, for instance, you can go right to it and click on it, and you can read it right there. You can go down to the bottom of that, and you can go right back to the top. So that's a pretty good way to point out constitutional verbiage. And that has our Declaration of Independence, our Articles of Confederation, and the Constitution, and the amendments, Bill of Rights and the amendments. So you can have that. So since the beginning of my efforts over the last year, since we were put down on a lockdown that was only supposed to be 14 days to slow the curve, I have looked at all of the, I have to be careful. I've already got another strike on another YouTube channel. So I'm not running that YouTube channel right now. The Patriot Ron channel, we've got another 7-day strike on it for what they say is misinformation, but I don't remember saying anything that would have done it, but they said it was misinformation. So since this whole thing started, I noticed over a year ago that the state of emergency was what was giving them the excuse. It was the foundation of this huge building, this high-rise building that they, being the government, was building. And one of many floors of this high-rise building was the mandates, mask mandates, the jab mandates. But it doesn't end there. They're squashing our liberties. They're squashing our constitutional freedoms, our God-given rights. You could go to a liquor store, but you couldn't go to church. These are all things that have something to do with people coming together, organizing. They don't want that. They want to keep us confined. Be good little citizens and do as you're told. And all of this is tied to that state of emergency. And now the resident says that he's going to renew it again. So, nothing has changed so far as I have seen, or what I have said and done over the last year, which is we need to find a way to end the state of emergency. When I met with the senators back in March, it was about ending the state of emergency. We have a pandemic of unchecked power in this country. It must be ended. So we had a few joint resolutions. They were going nowhere under the 117th Congress. The Senate was working on it, but the Congress wasn't. And then HJ Res 7 came out in the 118th, went right straight to the floor after it was moved through the judiciary, and went straight to the floor, and they passed it in the House. So with the passage of HJ Res 7 in the House, it now has to go to the Senate. So when we look at the actions and we can see and track what this joint resolution is doing, we can see that on February 2nd, it was received in the Senate, and it was referred to the Committee on Finance. I have no idea why it would be in the Committee on Finance in the Senate, but that's currently where it's at. Now, 63, Senate Joint Resolution 63, which was back in November, was the exact same verbiage as the House just passed with HJ Res 7, but on the Senate side. And that passed with a 61-37 vote. The Senate hasn't changed that much. But it hasn't changed that much. So I'm beginning to believe that once this hits the floor in the Senate, provided that we can see a non-obstructed way of it getting there, then this should pass the Senate. I'm sure that there's a lot of the House members are contacting people in the Senate. There are people in the Senate like Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Rand Paul, and the same folks that if we looked at that we're working with this, we've got Rand Paul, Mike Lee, Steve Daines, Ted Cruz, Rick Scott, Mike Braun, Ron Johnson, James Rich, and Mike Crapo is a Democrat. No, he's a Republican. Sorry. I apologize. They're more than likely already working the crowd and saying, we're going to get this thing passed. Great. HJ Res passes the Senate. Then what? Well, then it goes to the resident, who will immediately veto that. Hopefully, he will be showing the world how much of a dictator he is when that hits his desk by vetoing that. And according to the Constitution, it has to go back to the House that originated it, which would be the House, not the Senate, with a list of reasons why he vetoed it. Well, I'm sure that there'll be a made-up list, because one thing that's not going to be on there is that, well, we still need to feed money into Big Pharma. That's not going to be there. So that's what we're watching. What is it that we need to do? We need to end this state of emergency. We need to change the 1976 National Emergencies Act, or abolish it and create a new act, in order to keep individuals like Biden from invoking another state of emergency that is not needed or not constitutional. We need to stop it. Then we need to hold the people who have abused this power accountable for their actions. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Now, this next topic is one that I got to be extremely careful on, because I think it's what got me the strike over on the other channel, and that is election integrity. This also needs to be part of our movement, because if we cannot count on our election system, then we do not have a constitutional republic. So we need to do something about it. I think that we'll have to have some conversations outside of the normal channels for that. And so we'll see if we can't put something together. But let's think about what it is we should be doing right now. What we should be doing right now is preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. So things like groceries, you can see how they're all just going crazy with the price of food. I just went shopping the other day. It was just shy of $300, and it was probably less than half of what I would normally pick up for $300. So it's coming. Food shortages out of the mouth of the resident who said that they're going to get worse. So we need to start doing things, preparing for when we have to do for ourselves without going to the grocery store and spending a fortune. Bread is a big thing. Lots of people use the bread. I mean, I'm a crazy bread freak. So that's just one. So if you get flour, the price of flour, the price of rice, these are the staples that you would normally have by the 50-pound sack, for instance. A 20-pound sack of flour. I'm sorry, of rice. And we're not even talking about jasmine rice or anything like that. We're just talking about rice, regular plain old white rice. $22.50 for a 20-pound bag. It's amazing how they are just skyrocketing our food. And right now it's wintertime. We can't put the garden in. We can't, we've had problems with chickens laying eggs. However, my chickens are starting to lay eggs again after taking them off of the feed. Need to detox those chickens to where I can get back up to my dozen eggs a day. 7 months, not one egg. Change the feed, they start to lay again. It's not a conspiracy theory for me. I've seen it with my own eyes with my own chickens. So chickens, I'm thinking about getting a goat, a nanny goat. I can do two things. I've got acreage around here that I can chain her up and let her go and keep the weeds down and milk her. Things of this nature, just thinking. We've got a greenhouse going up. Have to try and be more self-sufficient. In that is also something that, this is a flow chart for bread. In this case, it's sourdough bread. Now we've got one of my mods and one of my admins. She's been grinding her own stuff and making her own soap, and so started thinking about this yesterday and today, that maybe we need to go on a journey with my videos as well on doing some of this stuff. Grinding our own flour, making our own bread. But even then, you got to think about what bread would you be able to do in a survival situation if you didn't have any yeast, if you didn't have the sugar, if you didn't have all this stuff. What bread could you make with just 4 ingredients of flour, salt, water, and yeast? Well, sourdough comes to mind. Sourdough doesn't, you use a sourdough starter, you make the starter, and you pretty much keep the starter with, you treat it like a pet, and you nurture it, you cultivate it, and it's wild yeast and bacteria. Doesn't use any commercial yeast whatsoever. You make your yeast. You grow the yeast that you would use in sourdough. So we're going to be doing that. I'm on day 5 of starting my starter. Haven't named it yet. You can toss some suggestions for my starter in the comments, and we'll go from there. One of the guys that I was looking at, he named his starter Brad Pitt. Takes it around the world with him. When he goes, he takes his starter with him and he uncaps it and he lets some of the natural air of that area, the wild bacteria or yeast in the area, culminate on his starter, and he picks up these different flavors. It's kind of interesting. Not that I would do that, but when you've got to have things ready to go, you start thinking about that. You think about your grains. Well, with flour, you can make your pastas. You can make all your different breads, crackers, you name it. So we should be thinking about being self-reliant, sufficient. Water, that's another thing. We're looking at, I've got some water stored out here, but it's not enough. So we're looking at these 275-gallon containers to be able to put some water up. Collect water. Now, in some states, it's illegal to even collect rainwater. Why would that be? Just like in a lot of areas, they're banning the burning of wood stoves. Why? Well, because you can heat your home with it, right? Dole out that money to the power company. So, yeah, Joan, that's not a bad idea, having a distiller. You can do a lot of things with a distiller besides make alcohol. Distill your water and make it, purify your water with a distiller. Things of that nature. Freeze-dried foods. Be able to get some freeze-dried foods. Batteries. Something that you can store on the shelf for a while. Emergency communications systems. If you go to the patriotroster.com and you sign up over there, you'll notice that I'm all about emergency communications. Being able to communicate without the internet, without cell phones, how would you do it? These are questions you should be asking yourself. How would you do it? I believe that every single person should be watching the ads for estate sales, ham radio operators that have passed on, or in the ham radio world, we say have gone silent key. Pick yourself up a HF radio, and on Patriot Roster, I tell you how to design and make an antenna with a roll of wire. So when things hit the fan, you can still at least receive communications. And not being conspiratorial, but I do think things are about to hit the fan. I really do. Before my surgery and the healing from my post-op, I'm not sure what it is that we're going to be able to do. Everything we've done so far has not moved the needle. If anything, it's gone the other way. We went across the country in a convoy. We saw many patriots come out on bridges, waving flags. In my walk that I started on July 2nd, I haven't seen any Patriots in mass. Let me clarify that. We're going to have to start communicating with each other on a local basis, pooling resources, working with families who might need some of what you have, and you might need some of what they have. We have to start that. But at the same time, we still want to look for a way to fix this problem. AH6KG, Sean. KM6DZ is my call. In fact, I have to renew my license. I'll have to get that done. Now it's under the 90-day line, so I can go out and renew my call sign. Good for 10 years. Back in the 90s, back during the earthquakes of 89 and the floods in California of 95, emergency communications, hurricanes and cyclones, first communications out of the area when commercial radio and commercial landlines and cell phones are down, it's always the ham radio operators that get through first. Health and welfare messages. Canada's in the house. Hey, G-Gab. Yeah, you can go to the Ham Fest. You can go to Craigslist. You can go to Marketplace, garage sales. Find yourself an HF radio transceiver. Familiarize yourself with it. Even though you may not be licensed, it's always good to have that emergency communication system ready to fly. Because I'm here to tell you, if the stuff hits the fan, I don't think there's a single body that would tell you to get off the air if you needed help. You need to know where you could go. So we need to start partnering up. Get as many people as possible in your community involved. The 18th of this month is Capital Rally Day. You should be tapping everyone you know on the shoulder to go to your state capital for Freedom Rally. Network, get phone numbers, get email addresses. We need to start coming together. We need to be communal. So maybe here in the next week or so, in the next few days, I'll probably do some videos on some bread making even. Like I said, sourdough doesn't require a whole lot. Maybe I can work with a few of the folks around, and we'll see if we can't get some video from some of my admins and what it is that they do. Grinding flour, making soap, these types of things. Texas girl will bake off. There we go. And all kidding aside, we're going to have to do it. If nothing else, you need to know how. How do you provide for your family if you can't go to the store? What do you do? Too many people have become comfortable with just being able to hop in the car and go to the local grocery store. What are you going to do for meat? Do you know somebody who has cattle, pigs, chickens? One way, for instance, if you're going to get into the sourdough arena, is to go to your local baker and see if you can get some starter from them. You don't need much. just a small baby food jar full of starter fluid, starter. But remember, it's alive. You have to feed it. You have to nurture it just like you would a pet until you can get your bread making skills together. I don't have rabbits, but I have chickens. So these are the things we need to start thinking about more so now than yesterday. Because I do believe that we're coming up on something that's going to be pretty nasty. And we need to be ready. Now, again, over on patriotroster.com, it's my own website, and I hate this. So once you've logged in, under the You Ready, there's apps and programs and how-tos, antennas, radios, and so on. So I've put together an antenna how-to. So being able to take some wire, make a dipole or an inverted V, as you see here, and a complete explanation of just how you would do it. I speak to the fact that it is licensed, these frequencies, but inside of here, I've actually put some frequencies in that we would utilize. Okay. Talking about radios. What's going to get you line of sight communications is VHF, UHF. So if you need to talk to your neighbors or a mile or two down the road, or if you need to talk around the world, I recommend you get something that you can at least listen around the world, which is a HF radio, and even this little boy knows how to do it. And he's even got a Morse code keyer going there, starting young. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So, satellite systems. Myself, I have an Inmarsat. So I use this satellite system. And in a failure of the internet or the cell phone service, satellite to satellite works just fine as long as it's on the same network. So for me, I'm in an Inmarsat. The Iridium has many more satellites, drops you more often, whereas Inmarsat, you got to have a clear sight of the southern sky in order to make your call. We used it on the walk, in fact, on a time when I had no cell phone service, and contacted my admin via text messaging via Inmarsat. So there's satellite. Now, I haven't been up here in quite a while. But we may actually give this thing a facelift and use it going forward for you folks. Another website that we're going to be putting it out is this one. Whoops, wrong one. We're going to be building this one up as soon as I can get an artist. Give me some one-off artwork that I'm looking to get done. Why didn't you do something.net? Right now, this is not a developed site. This is all it is. But we'll develop this one as well. So I think we need to be diligent and start getting things ready for going that way. Start getting names together, get a roster together, and that's ultimately what we need to do. We're not going to make any change. We're not going to make anything change in this country unless we can come together as patriots to let them know who they work for. So if you're going to be in the Carson City area, you'll see me down there on the 18th with Mr. T. Hopefully we'll see a few folks that we had on the convoy there as well. We're trying that. No, doctor, if you want to, let's see. No, we've got only mods are allowed to post links. And we got a full boat full of mods. Read up on some of this here. Sorry about that. GGAB, what do you mean live on the East Coast but not in Canada? Yeah, Kate, we're going to do that. I'm going to put together some videos on sourdough and some artisan style, some sandwich loaf, because bread is going to be needed for all this. So, hey, trucking girl. Okay. So what we've got to do, keep focused on what it is we need to do to make change in the country. And like I said, that state of emergency is probably right now, besides the fact that we've got an idiot in the White House, is the number one thing that we need to end, is the state of emergency. We end the state of emergency, we end their monopoly, or their tyranny of running us over by saying it's all in the name of a pandemic. So many things are tied to that. money going out to big pharma, money going out to hospitals, charge masters. It's all crazy. The vaccine injury is going to be a big thing too. We're going to be seeing that coming up. But they're going to try and drop another one. I think they're going to try and drop another type of virus. We've been seeing this XBB 1.1.5, and in reality, I think that comes back to some kind of an Ebola. So this is not over. Things are going to start happening. Yep, we'll do that, Kate. Katie, I believe it's pronounced. We'll get that going. We'll get you going on that for sure. Anyway, I didn't want to take up a whole lot of time. I know I'm running a little slow right now because I'm dealing with some things that health-wise to try and trying to just function day to day. So I apologize for that. Dealing with that, and once I can get some of these issues under control, then we'll be back at it full bore. But it does suck having to sit around. I just don't like it. And so while I'm taking it easy, I'll go ahead and do some videos on making bread. That'll be one of the things. And hey, Jen. So JM, would you be interested in doing some videos for our collage of what we're doing? Off-grid type stuff. Grinding flour is a good one. Making soap. Would you be interested in that? So I know that JM is a very self-sufficient lady making for her family. Nice. So we'll set up to do some videos. Yep. And some grinding of the flour. I don't have a grinder yet. The grinder I bought, junk. So that's got to go away. I'll keep it around. Just made soap yesterday. Nice. See, those are some of the things we need to be able to do and take away from going to the store to do it. So that's all good. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll put them up in the form of videos instead of lives. Yeah, the kind of flour, the kind of wheat you use, Jen, and that kind of stuff. Generators are nice to have. There's, I have a stove and I'm thinking about, a fireplace, and I'm thinking about changing it out. It's a fire stove. If changing it out actually to a wood cook stove, it'll still act as a heater for the house, but I can use it as an oven and a cooktop too. So I'm looking at that. For those of you who have fireplaces, I'm sorry, but I have a stove, and I found a stove that's almost the same size as the stove I have now in there, the fire stove, but it's a wood cook stove. So I'm watching Facebook Marketplace, and I'm seeing stuff from like 1918, 1920s. That's how they used to do it. Heat the house and cook the food, bake the bread, all on a wood cook stove. So there's a lot of that we can reduce the expenses that we have going out. There's nothing wrong with fireplaces. I'm just saying you can't cook in a fireplace. So the stoves, you've got a chimney right there. You can just literally pull out the firewood stove and put in a wood cook stove right in its place. So we work it that way. Maybe something you'd be able to figure out with a fireplace. I just don't know. But if you go back into what, even back in the 1960s and the early 70s, I remember going to my Aunt Dora's house, and she had a wood cook stove, and she would cook hot cakes and bacon and eggs on the griddle that was built into her stove. And I always wondered as a kid why she was putting wood in the oven, but of course it was the firebox. But I'm keeping an eye on that. Replace the stove with a wood cooking stove, and still be able to do everything I do with my firewood stove, but be able to be sufficient in other ways. So I'm doing that. Yeah, I think there may be some attachable ovens or something that you could try to set something up in a fireplace, but I just don't know. I just don't see how it works. I don't think it will work. But a stove, on the other hand, now you're talking. But yeah, we've got. Let me see if I can show you one of the stoves.
Just turned out to be just a little bit too small, and there was just some cosmetic stuff on it that Stacy didn't like. So we ended up getting the Pioneer Princess, and we got that from the Amish.
So that's in the background. That's called the Pioneer Princess wood cooking stove and oven. It's a nice big stove. And this, by the way, is Doug from Doug and Stacy. If you haven't watched them, I watched them. This guy's pretty good. Reminds me of Mike Rowe. Does anybody else see that resemblance with Mike Rowe? And you listen to the way he talks.
And it's bigger than the Baker's Choice, so it's going to heat a lot more square foot. So we just manage it, so where it won't take us out of the house. Actually, you guys don't think it maybe, but this puts off so much heat it could actually run you out of your house. And I'm going to go over a few things about the stove.
So that is the Pioneer Princess wood cook stove. So that one is made by the Amish. So that's just an idea. There is a smaller version of that I'm thinking. It's only about 3 or 4 inches wider than the stove I have right now in my living room. So, yeah, it's cool. That's fun. Anyway, folks, listen, I really appreciate all of you. It's been a rough few weeks for me, between the shoulder and some other issues that have cropped up, and I'm just trying to keep everything on an even keel. I'm not giving up on this fight. We just have to kind of shape how it's going to go forward. I know that it's going to require a lot of us to make the change, and we all have to start thinking together, doing together, and getting ready for the worst and hoping for the best. So I'll put together some short videos and work that. I'm kind of fading fast, and I apologize for that, but I did want to do an update with y'all and let you know that the 21st is when my surgery is scheduled, and hopefully I can get some other things fixed before then as well. So, and oh, yep, there's Mr. T. I know Mr. T's got some questions for JM as well. We've been getting the starter. Hang on just a minute. I'll I'll be back in just one quick second. As soon as I figure out. Oh, that's not the one we want. That's not the one we want. That's not the one I want. I think it went away on me. So I will be back in a minute and show you something. Okay. Oop. I'm back. I have a T-Rex arm, so it's a little tough to try and move. Ooh. So this is my whole wheat starter that I just did this evening. And this is day 5. So this is cultivating. Looking pretty good, actually. Starting to build some bubbles up in here. We've got lots of little air bubbles all over. But it hasn't risen much since I fed it. So we're on day 5. So we'll see here in the next 2-3 days. I should be able to see this double in size. And of course, feeding it in daily to get it going. But that's my whole wheat starter. So once we get the starter going, when I feed it tomorrow, I'll videotape that. So that'll be part of the process on having a starter. The thing about having a good starter like this is, like I said, it's like a pet. You keep it alive by nourishing it. And you'll never, ever have to buy yeast again when you have your own starter. I was talking to somebody that worked in a bakery. They've got their starter is over 60 years old. Their sourdough starter. So they just keep replenishing it, and it provides the natural, raw, I should say, wild yeast that is pulling out of the whole grain and the air, creating that bacterial symbiosis, and it's starting to smell a little vinegary. So it's coming to life. So these are the things that we're going to put together some videos and some how-tos for y'all. Go back over here. Yeah. So this thing is, it's starting to really, it's taking on that vinegar smell. So we're almost done with the starter. So it's, it's only got a few hours going here. So we'll be able to get that starter tomorrow. I'm hoping that I'll see it rise above my mark here. So we'll get some good, that yeasty working. It's pulling down the gluten and everything that's in there. So it'll be almost, be real runny. Hey, Judy. So that's my whole wheat starter, and we'll look to make up some bread here in the next few days using this starter. But I'll show you what I'm doing in a video that I've been out learning what to do. Now, I've seen my great aunt do it, but I'd never done it. So I could have gone to the baker and just asked him if I could steal a little starter from him. Get some of that really good old starter. But It's part of the process. It's part of the learning deal when you have to make it from scratch and grow it. So anyway, we will be putting some things together there. See above. It's rough for me to see above there, Judy. So, and thanks, Peggy. I appreciate you. Yeah, I've been reading about the discard. There's a German gal that I was checking out yesterday who said she doesn't do discards. So I wanted to talk about the different methods of the discards. It's like I didn't do a discard tonight. I actually, since my first batch is going to be about a 1,000 gram batch, that'll be about 2 loaves. There's 150 grams in here. I would need 20% starter to start that. So I split it 3 ways on day 5. And so I've got 3 of these going that I'll bring back into a singular mix and be able to use it as my starter, be able to use 200 or so grams in my first batch that I do with this. So that's the batch that'll coming up. Probably got about 3 more days. You know, it's between 5 and 10 days. You can get your starter to come to life, to be able to work. And like I said, you'll never have to buy yeast ever. You keep your starter going, cultivate your starter. You can keep it in the refrigerator, and you can prep it and go 6-7 weeks between feedings if you had to. One guy talked about going on vacation. He was gone for over 2 months, came back, brought his starter right back up. Boom, just like that. So once you've got a starter, that's the way to go. You convert that over into a stiff starter, making it, reducing the hydration component, and be able to even freeze that starter and bring it back, thaw it out in a cup, go overnight, feed it, you're ready to rock the next day. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming in. Cha-cha-chia, yeah, Diego, the chia pet. So I am looking for a name for my starter. Bread Pit's already taken. Something snazzy. Earl? I don't know. So if you go to graywolfwalk.com, that's gray with an E, graywolfwalk.com, and help us out there. We are getting to the point to where we are trying to look for some sponsors to be able to possibly put together an auction down the road. But you can also send messages to my email as well. So I'm just going to say goodnight to everybody. Love y'all. And y'all take care. And until the next time, I'm going to try and get some sleep, try and get rid of what it is I've got going. I don't have a cold. I don't have COVID, none of that stuff. That ain't real anyway. Anyway, so, I mean, it's real, but you know what I mean. So it's like I can deal with it. But it's some other stuff that I haven't had before that I'm trying to get rid of. So we're working on it. So love all you guys. Take care. And until we come up on the stream again, God bless you. God bless the United States.